my lovely Lange fam, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So yesterday afternoon I uploaded my weekly Sunday night vlog, and in that vlog I kind of came clean about the struggles that I have with my mental health. And I honestly never thought that I would do that on the internet, like on such a public platform such as YouTube. I was never ever intending to, you know, tell the world, basically whoever wants to watch, that I have OCD and anxiety. And the reason I didn't want to tell anybody wasn't because I'm like ashamed of it, it's just because I didn't want anyone to see me as like weak or like losing a plot or anything like that. I will always want people to see me as like strong, confident, happy, resilient. So that's why for the entire time that I've been on YouTube, I've never like spoken about it or like told you guys my story when it comes to mental health, but in that vlog I did. And the amount of comments, I think the last time I checked my phone there was 1,600 comments from you guys, and the video's only been up for about 24 hours. There was 1,600 comments from you guys, everybody saying they either also suffer from, you know, mental health issues, or that they know somebody that does, or basically that they were just thankful that I had kind of come clean about my mental health struggles and had shared that on such a public platform, because it kind of made people feel like they weren't alone in what was going on in their minds. So because just that little segment in the vlog where I talked about my mental health seemed to touch so many of you, I thought it's only right of me now to kind of just do a whole video on it and just dedicate this video entirely to mental health, because if so many of you benefited from the small segment that I spoke about in my vlog, then hopefully a lot of you will benefit from this video as well. So that's why I'm doing it. By the way, if you haven't watched my vlog, I suggest you watch that before this video, because it will give you a better background idea of my struggles. I'll put a card to it here, or is it on this side? I'm not sure, but I'll put a card to it there. So pause this video, watch that one first. So in my vlog, I wasn't entirely honest about what I suffer from. Like I was, but I didn't kind of tell you the whole story. So I've actually all day been jotting down little points that I wanted to speak to you about. And I never usually do that for videos. I kind of just ramble and let myself go with the flow, but with a video as important as this, I didn't want to miss anything out. And so in this video, I'm just literally going to tell you from the heart and being completely brutally honest my struggles with mental health and what I actually have. So as you'll know, I have anxiety and I also have OCD. So I was, you know, professionally diagnosed with the both of them, and I'm currently on medication. I'm on 15 milligrams of I'm not sure if they're anti-anxieties or antidepressants. I'm not going to say what the name of them in this video is, purely because I don't want to kind of encourage anybody that doesn't need medication to go on it. I don't think that my medication has had any effect on me. I've been on it for 2 months now and it's done nothing in my opinion. Like I don't feel any different, so I'm going to probably come off them quite soon. Obviously safely, I'll have my GP's guidance when I come off them, but yeah, just thought I would say that. So I wanted to give you a rundown of the things that I experience with my anxiety and my OCD. And this is going to be really personal for me to talk about, because I've never spoken about this with anybody in the world except Darren, my mum, my sister, and my very best friend. And even they couldn't understand what I was trying to explain to them, you know, what I do in the throes of like OCD. So I'm a little bit scared to actually like film this video and put it out there in case I get ridiculed or people just think I'm kind of loopy. Okay, here goes. So I thought I'll talk about OCD first, because I feel like that's kind of one of the issues or disorders that is so, like there's so many misconceptions around it, and people that don't have it, I feel like they can't possibly understand how it feels to suffer from OCD. So my OCD comes in a few different forms. The main part of it that bothers me is that I always have this fear, like this awful overriding fear of something awful happening to someone I love. So whether it be my dogs, my family, my fiance, myself, or even just random people that I see in the street, I have this like horrible fear that something bad could happen to them. And so to stop that bad thing happening, I have this like thing that I have to do in order to avoid that happening. And so, oh guys, this is gonna sound so stupid to explain. I should have just done a blog post, but I feel like that's the coward's way out. Like I want to have the strength to just tell you. So what I do in order to keep people safe is like, oh, this is so hard to explain. Okay, so say I'm like talking to Darren, for example, my fiance, say I'm talking to him. If I am talking to him, I have these intrusive thoughts, and I think they're either part of anxiety or they're part of OCD. I'm not sure which one, but I constantly have intrusive thoughts. Sometimes they lay a little bit lower and I don't have as many throughout the day. Some days I have intrusive thoughts kind of take over my mind and I can't really escape them. So say I'm like talking to Darren, for example, I'll get this intrusive thought come into my head, and it could be anything, you know, it could be this quick flash image of him dying in a car accident, or it could be like a quick flash thought that he may get some terminal illness and die. And it's just like a quick flash and you have to really work to push it out of your head. And like he could be talking to me, for example, and to anybody else, they would think that I'm just, you know, listening to him and that's all I'm thinking about. But in my head, I may look like I'm listening to him, but in my head I'm thinking about all these awful things that I'm scared could happen to him. And so the way I avoid those awful things happening is I, like, say I blink. This is how it works, right? So say an intrusive thought comes into my head and I happen to blink at the same time that I'm looking at him. That to me in my head is almost like, you know, when you're on the computer, right? And you've got your little mouse and you hover over something and then you click on it and you've kind of you may have like put something onto that part that you clicked. I'm sorry guys, this is so difficult to explain. Like I know what I'm trying to say, but it's difficult to like kind of get it out in words. So it's almost as though I've clicked on Darren, for example, or whoever it is that I'm worried about. It's almost as though I've clicked on them and this bad thought is now on them, and that's going to happen unless I then click on myself. This sounds so stupid. So what I do is I then have to look at my own body. So I often look at my hands, like I'll look at my hands and I'll blink whilst I'm looking at myself, and that's kind of like I've then taken the bad thought that could happen, that I'm fearing will happen to them, and I've made it happen to myself instead. So the amount of times I do that per day, like think how many times you'll be talking to someone or just looking at someone and you blink while you're looking at them. That's about how many times I do this ritual per day. And it is so disruptive. And I've had this same ritual, this same OCD for as long as I can possibly remember. Like I remember being a tiny kid, like 7 years old, possibly even younger, and I was still doing this exact same thing. I've never grown out of it. I've never been able to stop doing it. And even though in my rational mind I know that what I'm doing absolutely makes no sense, like I don't have the power to stop something bad happening to someone I love, and I know that like by placing this bad thought on myself, it's not going to, you know, it's not going to make a difference in the world. It's not going to change anything. Like what I'm doing is completely powerless. But then whilst I'm thinking that rationally, and I know that because I'm not, you know, an idiot, I know that. But then I have this other thought saying, yeah, but what if this is the time where you don't do your ritual and then something bad happens? Like, are you really going to take that chance? Are you going to take that risk with someone that you love so much? And obviously I don't want to take any risks like that. So then, even though I know that what I'm doing is stupid and doesn't make any sense, I can't not do it. It's really disruptive in the sense that like, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm doing all this in my head whilst I'm having a conversation with them. And so I don't think anybody ever notices. And I hope that by me doing this video and like, you know, just being so, I don't know, bearing all my cards, is that even an expression? I don't think so. But you know what I mean? Like me bearing all this to whoever wants to watch this video, I hope then nobody that meets me in real life will be watching for these things that I do, because that'll make me feel really awkward and like embarrassed. If I'm talking to, you know, my mum or my sister and I blink while I'm looking at them and I worry that maybe I've somehow sent this bad thing over their way, then I'm constantly, you know, looking at myself and blinking while I look at myself. And I can do that, like say I'm having a 5-minute conversation with one of them, I could do that up to 30, 40 times. Oh, it's getting uncomfortable sitting like that. Oh, by the way guys, if my camera is like going focused and then unfocused, my camera's really annoying me today. It's like not focusing on anything I want it to, and then it's like blurring on, wait, no, it's blurring on stuff that I don't want it to, ugh, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's like the majority of my OCD. I know that there's more to it, but I can't think, like it's not coming to me right now. I can't think what it is, but if I do remember, I'll put it in the comments down below so that you can read it. But yeah, that is the main thing that I suffer with OCD. pardon me, OCD wise. I fear that something bad's gonna happen to somebody that I love. Oh, and also I can't even look at a picture of someone or something that I love or care about without doing the same thing. Like or even if I think about them, right? Say I'm thinking about my mum, for example, and an intrusive bad thought enters my mind, I must immediately take whatever bad could happen to her and, you know, put it on myself instead. Saying this out loud just sounds so like idiotic, I know. And like the really disruptive part of it is like I could be driving, like, you know, in the driver's seat, actually manning the vehicle, and I'll look next to me at my mum or Darren or my sister or my dog or something like that, and I've got this bad thought that enters my head and I've got to take my eyes off the road. And sometimes I don't even have to look at them, I just think a bad thought and panic that it's going to happen to them, so I have to take my eyes off the road and then look at somewhere on my body, and until I can get a satisfactory click on my own skin with my eyes, then I have to keep trying, because if I don't succeed in making this bad thing happen to myself instead of somebody else, then I feel like I'm risking their safety. So like that's really dangerous. Like I'm putting people I love at danger more by, you know, driving with these obsessive compulsive rituals I do than I think what would ever happen to them if I didn't do them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not stupid. Like I know how this sounds in my head, but I can't take the risk. Do you know what I mean? One little thing I remember actually from when I was trying to describe my rituals that I do with my OCD, I was trying to describe it to one of my psychologists in Australia, and so she asked me, what do you do as part of your OCD? And I spent ages trying to explain it to her, just as I kind of have now to you guys. And she was nodding along and, you know, writing down things in her notepad, and that was all well and good. And then as the session came to a close and I was walking out the door, she goes to me, have a good weekend, make sure you don't blink on anybody. Ha 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 ha. I was just gobsmacked. I was like, did I literally hear her say that? Did she just make a joke about my OCD to me right at the end of the session? And I was so taken aback. I was just kind of like, I'll try not to. And when I walked away, I just felt so belittled and so like embarrassed to have told her what I told her, because it's like it takes a lot for me to let myself be so vulnerable as to tell people the insanity that kind of goes on in my head, and then for my own psychologist to make a joke out of it, but not even like, she was laughing at me, not with me kind of thing. Like I wasn't laughing about it, so it's not as though she was laughing with me about it. She was literally laughing at me, and it just kind of like crushed me at the moment. I never saw her again after that. So I've got a few things noted down here that I also wanted to speak to you about. So intrusive thoughts, I've already spoken about intrusive thoughts. So like they can be anything from, you know, I'll just be lying here in bed, for example, completely calm, not even feeling that anxious, like just feeling like a normal human being, reading a book about to go to sleep, and then suddenly I'll get this flash thought in my head of, you know, my sister lying there dying of some incurable disease. And it just, the feeling is so strong and so frightening. And they really are intrusive. Like they are intrusive thoughts because they come out of nowhere, they intrude on your mind, and it's such hard work to try and push them out of your head. And that's when I'll then do my little OCD ritual to kind of calm myself down and stop that thought happening to, you know, her, for example. So that I feel like intrusive thoughts and OCD for me are definitely tied together. Another thing I do, and all my family and friends will be able to attest to this, is I twirl my hair. Like pretty much anyone that knows me in real life, if they've been in my presence, I'll be doing this. I could do this for hours on end. Like I have done it for hours on end. I could do this 24 hours a day if I was awake that long. And I don't know if that's anything, like I don't know if that actually is part of mental illness, but it's just something that I know that I do and other people notice that I do. And I think the reason I do it is because I need to keep my hands busy. I just don't like them being still, so if I'm doing this I'm kind of occupied and it kind of keeps me busy. So that's just one thing I've noticed as well. Don't know if anybody else does that. Oh yeah, another thing I do all the time, and I think it's just built into my personality, is I have catastrophic thoughts. So this is something my psychologist, well, this is what she called it. They're called like, it's an actual thing and it's called like catastrophic thoughts. So for example, right, if Darren's gone out to the gym that evening, you know, and I go to call him and he doesn't answer, instead of thinking, okay, his phone's on silent, or his phone's off, or he's busy, or he's actually working out because he's at the gym, my mind doesn't do that. My mind jumps to the worst possible outcome of that. So I'll immediately think, oh my god, Darren's been in a car accident. Oh, another example of my catastrophic thoughts is kind of like reading into things too much. Like, say for example, I get a text message of one of my friends and they don't put a little, you know, kiss X at the end, or they do a full stop instead of an exclamation mark. That hits me right in the feels. Like, it kind of feels like a brick has been dropped on my head, and I immediately jump to the conclusion that, oh dear, like, this friend, blah, 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 either doesn't like me anymore, I've done something to upset them, they don't want to be my friend anymore, or something like that. Like, it's what nobody else, like something so simple that nobody else would even notice, jumps straight out of the text message at me and slaps me across the face. And that's kind of just another way of like catastrophic thoughts, in the sense that instead of just thinking, if you do notice that there's no X or no exclamation mark, instead of noticing that and thinking nothing of it, I notice it and I immediately jump to the conclusion that they don't want me in their life anymore. So yeah, hopefully you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Like, instead of thinking rationally about something and going to the most logical, least harmful conclusion, my mind immediately, and I have no control over it, it jumps to the worst possible conclusion that could have happened in any one thing in life. Like, and that's what I believe has happened. And this kind of ties into health anxiety for me as well. So health anxiety, hypochondria, is a massive, massive one of my issues, and that's what I didn't speak about in my last vlog video that I did. So I suffer really, 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 really badly with health anxiety. Like, I would say health anxiety for me is about 70% of my overall anxiety. So say I get a headache. It's not just a headache to me. It's not possible dehydration. It's not maybe I'm tired. To me, that's a brain tumor and I'll be dead next week. And it sounds so stupid to say, and it sounds really like rude to say, because I know there's so many people that actually are suffering, you know, with that in the world. And but I genuinely think that's me. That's me. I'm a goner, basically. And it's such a scary thought to have. I can see now how all of my issues kind of tie in together, because I can see how that also lends itself to separation anxiety. Because I fear death, not because of death, but purely because it'll separate me from my dogs and Darren and my friends and my family. But yeah, health anxiety is like a huge source of my issues, and that's why I'm on the anti-anxiety medication, is because when I moved to Ireland in December, I mentioned this in my vlog, and a lot of people thought that my anxiety flared up because of the move or because of the Irish weather, but it's not any of that. I love the Irish weather, I love the rain, I love black skies, like that kind of energizes me. That's my favorite kind of weather. The reason my anxiety flared up wasn't because of the move, it was because I kind of like do this thing where I constantly check my body, and not even just my body, I check everybody that I care about. So I'll be subconsciously checking my mum, or I'll be subconsciously checking Darren, or the dogs, or my sister, or my friends, like, and they don't really know I'm doing it, but I'm kind of like obsessing over every single little symptom or cough or headache or aching knee that they have or that I have, and immediately my mind will jump to the very worst outcome that could come of that. And it always ends awfully in my head. And it's such an exhausting way to live, because I'm constantly in a state of worry, and I'm constantly like shaky, and I feel like uncertain, and I feel out of control, and like I can't help anybody, and I can't change this awful thing that's about to impede on my life. It's just like very, very hard to live with. And I know that my health anxiety, like I've done so much work on myself, because I don't want to have these issues. Like I said in the vlog, I don't think having mental health issues is cool. I don't think it's fashionable. It's not Tumblr to me. I don't make jokes about OCD. Like, if you stack up cans in the pantry neatly, you don't, well, you may have OCD, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't have OCD if you just like to be clean and neat and tidy. That's not OCD, and it just pisses me off when people make a joke out of it, because it's not a bloody joke to me. Yeah, this health anxiety, I know where it started, and it stems from, because before this event happened in my life, I was fine. I didn't have any health anxiety. So when I was 7, my family friends, like we have this big group of family friends basically, and one of the boys, like one of the children that was my age, we were both 7, we were good friends. His name was Josh. I think we were about 7, and So we were like the same age and we used to buddy around when all the families got together. He got diagnosed with, I think it was leukemia. And like obviously none of us really knew what it was because we were just little kids. But then I think it was probably about a year after that he died, like he passed away from it. And I remember like it was just the biggest tragedy like out of all of our family friends and everything, because to lose, you know, the child so young and in such a sad way was just awful. And there was a lot of other kids in this, you know, big family group of friends, but I think I got hit with that the hardest. Like I really took it to heart, and I got really scared by it, because I feel like one moment he was here and he was healthy and he was happy and he was just like me and he was full of energy, and then the next minute he'd passed away from this awful disease. And that kind of flicked a switch in my head, and I've always thought since then, if it could happen to Josh, it can happen to me too. It can happen to me so easily. In fact, it's likely to happen to me. That's how I think of it. And I've always had this fear then that I'm going to get sick, that my family's going to get sick, that my fiance is going to get sick. Oh. This is very difficult to talk about. I haven't even gone this in depth with my psychologist, my new psychologist yet. So I know that's where like a lot of my, well, the main source of my health anxiety stems from. It's from what happened to Josh. And then I remember it was only about 6 months after Josh passed away, another family friend on my mum's side of the family friends, their daughter also got diagnosed with cancer, and that kind of just solidified it for me. I was like, fuck this shit. I was like, it's happening to everybody. Like, it's a plague. I'm gonna, like, you know, luck of the draw, I'm gonna get it too, kind of thing. And that's how I've thought about it ever since. And I literally have a paranoia now of that illness, and I hate to even say the word, like saying the word cancer. Like, I hate it. I hate saying it. I cannot look at the word written down on paper. I cannot watch ads that are for, like, you know, charities related to it. I can't look at like people with it, and it sounds so cruel to say, but it just triggers me. It literally triggers me, and it sends my mind into overdrive, and I start thinking about all these symptoms that I've noticed on my own body, and I just work myself up into such a panic that I end up thinking about it from dawn till dusk every day until I end up going to the doctor. And I hate going to the doctor. It scares the shit out of me, because then I think, well, I'm too scared to go to the doctor because what if they tell me bad news? So I literally now have a phobia as well of going to the doctor. Like, to anybody that doesn't like suffer from something similar, it wouldn't make any sense to them, you know what I mean? And I know I sound completely insane even describing half of the stuff I've described in this video, but literally this is what goes on in my head on a 24-hour basis. Like, it's exhausting to live in my head. Oh, my battery's running out in this camera, guys. I've got another camera here, so if this one runs out, I'll just switch to the other camera, but if the video looks different, that'll be why. So, whoa, where was I going with that anyway? Oh yeah, my fear. So I can't even look at words that on paper look like cancer. Like, if it says, you know, that kind of car that's a Lancer, I can't look at that. It freaks me out. Even just saying the word, I feel like spiders crawling all over me. So anyway, let's move on from that topic, because even just talking about that topic freaks me out. So what else have I got written down here? The list is endless. Oh yeah, so this is like, a lot of people in the comments on my vlog said, you know, mental health issues can run in your family. Like, they're a lot of the time genetic. And that, I think that is so true, because my biological dad, that I also spoke about in the vlog, James, I believe his dad had schizophrenia. That's what I've been told. Obviously, I never met him and he's passed away now. But my mum told me that she remembers that, you know, my grandfather essentially had schizophrenia. And so I don't have schizophrenia, thank goodness, touch wood. Where is wood? Yeah. I don't have anything like that, and I hope I never get it. And also then, that's on my biological dad's side, but then on my mum's side, I have family members that have bipolar and depression. Or maybe it's manic depression, I'm not sure what she has. But yeah, I've kind of got it on both sides of my family, so it's not really that surprising that I'm kind of suffering from some form of mental illness myself. Another thing that happens to me sometimes, and it happened to me just last week, is I get sometimes a sense of, I'm not sure what exactly it's called, I think it's called depersonalization, where you feel detached from like the world around you. And this happened to me, I think it was last Thursday? I can't remember. But it happened to me last week. And since I woke up till about 6 p.m. that night, I felt like I was living in and this is how I described it to Darren, I felt like I was living in an alternate universe and kind of just going through the motions like I was a robot in this universe, but I felt like my mind was separate from my body. I don't know if that's making any sense to anybody. I'm pretty sure it's called depersonalization, where you don't feel I don't even know how to explain it, but you don't feel like you're kind of in this atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it. You feel kind of separated from everything going around you, even though you're literally there. And I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy, I was nothing. I was kind of just like blah. I didn't feel like I was actually a part of this like universe. I know that's probably not going to make sense to anybody. That's just kind of how I can best describe it. One thing a lot of you guys commented in my vlog was that a lot of you suffer from panic attacks. And a heck of a lot of you suffer from panic attacks, and that makes me so sad because I've experienced them and I know how bloody scary they are, and it makes me really sad that so many of you guys that I care about so much that, you know, watch and support me suffer with things like that. Like, it's just, why? I don't understand why so many of us are having these issues. Like, is it something in the water? What's going on? Sorry guys, my vlogging camera ran out of batteries and turned off, so now I'm on my Sony, which anyway, but what I was saying was that, like, I don't understand why so many people these days are suffering with their mental health. Like, is this normal? Is this natural? Like, if you were to go back 500 years, was this high amount of the population suffering with these issues then, or is it something new that's going on with, like, the human race? I don't know. So a lot of you mentioned that you suffer from panic attacks, and that got me thinking, because that's not something that I really experience. Like, I have had, I'd say I've probably had 2 panic attacks. Like full-blown actual panic attacks, not just having, you know, severe flares up of anxiety, but an actual panic attack. The first one I had was when I was about 18 years old, and I was working at a Mexican restaurant at that time, and I was reading this book about Jim Morrison and his girlfriend, and that was fine, and, you know, the day had been normal, fine, nothing was wrong, and I read this book and then I had to go to work. And I just got this awful feeling of, like, doom. And I felt separated from, like, because back then I had a boyfriend, not Darren. Like, my first boyfriend that I ever had, I was going out with him at the time. And I just suddenly felt really panicky, and I felt like I needed to, like, see him. And because I was at work, obviously, I couldn't see him. And I started panicking. And so I was at work at this little restaurant, and my heart started, like, racing like this. I was shaking like a leaf, and I was breathing so much that I started feeling dizzy in my head, and I was seeing all these stars, and I felt lightheaded, like I was going to pass out. And my friend Helen that I worked with at the time, she's she passed away recently, and I miss her a lot. She was a wonderful woman. But she obviously noticed that something was really wrong with me, and she came over and she was like, what's wrong? And I was trying to explain to her, because I didn't know what a panic attack was. I didn't know that I was having a panic attack. I just knew that I did not feel correct. And she must have clocked onto what was happening to me, and she kind of, like, she took me over to behind the counter at work at the restaurant, and I think she got me a lemonade. Like, I think she made the lemonade go flat, like she shook it and then she gave it to me. She did something smart anyway, and she was like, drink this very, very, very slowly. And so, and I was crying at this stage as well. I was so panicked and so, like, scared, and I felt really out of control. I didn't know what was going on, and so I was, like, crying, and I wanted to go home, basically. She was like, just drink this really slowly, and so I did. I was, like, drinking it through a straw, and she was, like, holding me, patting me on the back, and eventually my breathing kind of slowed down, and then I would say about half an hour after that, I had this massive sense of euphoria, and it was just the weirdest thing. I'd gone from feeling like absolutely freaking out to, like, euphoria and all is well with the world, and I am zen and I'm calm and all is good, and it was just like from one extreme to the other. I don't know what that was all about, to be honest. And then the second time I had a panic attack, I honestly don't know if this was a panic attack, but because I have endometriosis, which I've mentioned in a video before, that means you get really bad cramps, basically, at any stage of the month, but especially bad during your period. And I was at makeup college at the time, and I got my period, and so the cramps came on really quickly, and all I had was Panadol, which is just like a paracetamol, and that doesn't cut it for me. Like, when I get cramps, I need something strong, but that's all I had with me. So I took 2 Panadol, thinking that would kind of tie me over, because our lesson for the day was almost done. Like, there was about an hour till home time, and I was like, I'll be able to make it to home time. But the cramps, I felt like I was in childbirth. Never been in childbirth. That's what I imagine it felt like. It was agony. My God. I started getting dizzy just from the pain, and I said to my college like makeup teacher, I was like, I don't feel well, I need to leave right now. She was like, all right, go, go, go. And my car was parked about 300 meters up the road in the parking. And I remember I walked out of college, and I was walking down the road thinking, just make it back to your car, make it back to your car, drive home. And I collapsed in the street. The pain was just so extreme. I couldn't walk and I couldn't see. Like, I'd literally gone blind. I had a zillion stars in front of my eyes, and I could just see like black and silver speckles everywhere. And I literally, I had to lay down in the gutter on the street. I don't know how I managed it. Oh, I think when I lay down, I started to be able to see again. And then I called Darren, and I was like, Darren, like, I'm actually dying right now. I couldn't breathe because the pain was so strong. So I wasn't getting enough air. And again, my heart was absolutely racing. And I was like, Darren, I'm just calling you to let you know I'm literally about to die right now, so I'm going to call an ambulance. And then I hung up on him. And he must have figured out where I was, because he knew I was at college, so he got a taxi straight over, because back then he couldn't drive. He got a taxi straight over, but in that time I had called an ambulance, because I literally thought I was about to have a heart attack and die. And the ambulance woman, she was like on the phone to me, and she was like, tell me what's wrong. And I was trying to explain all these symptoms, sensations I was having to her. And she kept trying to hang up, because she'd already ordered the taxi by then. She kept trying to like hang up and get on with her job and take more phone calls and whatnot. And I was like, please don't hang up on me. Like, please don't hang up. Because I honestly thought I was about to die. And I was like, she cannot hang up on me, because I will just die. Like, I need someone to speak to me right now and keep me alive. And so she stayed on the phone with me then until Darren and the ambulance literally arrived at the same moment. It was so weird. But then the second I got in the ambulance, or I think it was the second Darren turned up, all the pain vanished. My cramps weren't hurting anymore. I could breathe normally. My heart calmed down. And again, I felt this sense of like well-being. And I got into the ambulance and I was perfectly fine. And they were like, what's wrong with you? And I tried to explain what had just happened, and they didn't really understand what I was talking about. So they took me back to the hospital anyway. And they did blood tests, and they did all these other tests, and everything came back perfectly fine. So I don't know what the heck that was. I don't know if it was the cramps had brought on a panic attack or what the hell happened there, but it was odd. And then I had a huge ambulance bill as well. Okay, what other notes did I want to talk to you guys about? Okay, separation anxiety. This is another massive one for me. It's actually gotten a little bit better within the last 2 years, I'd say. But when I was younger, I would suffer really, really badly with separation anxiety. And I think as well that has a lot to do with my biological dad, his abandonment, because I always fear that I'm going to get abandoned, or I'm going to be left behind, or someone's going to change their mind about me and not love me anymore. Basically, I feel like nobody has unconditional love for me, and yet I have unconditional love for everybody. That's how I feel about my family and my friends, and the thing is, no one's really given me any reason to feel like that. I just feel like, and I think this is because of my dad, because like I feel like he should love me unconditionally, because that's what like fathers are meant to do, isn't it? But he like doesn't want anything to do with me, so I feel like I'm not worthy of unconditional love, or if my own dad doesn't love me unconditionally, like nobody does. So yeah, I've always had like massive issues with separation anxiety. I remember my mum used to, because my mum had to raise me on her own as a single mother until I was 5, and then she married my stepdad. He was a really, really nice man, really good man. He's also passed away now, unfortunately. This tattoo is for him, by the way. Can you see that? It says Seymour. That was my stepdad. He was a wonderful man. So, where was I going with that? Jeez, I'm like the queen of tangents. Anyway, separation anxiety. So my mum raised me on her own until she married my stepdad. And she obviously had to work. She was a single mother. So she would have to take me to a babysitter or to kindy, like preschool, you know, childminding. And I used to like, I don't think I ever let her know, but in my head and in my heart, I was like, I felt torn. I felt like scared to be away from her and scared to be out on my own. Like, I think my issues with independence, because I don't consider myself an independent person, I think the only reason I'm not an independent person is because I have separation anxiety. But I don't know, I haven't quite figured that one out yet. Then in school, I would hate leaving the safety of my bed or my bedroom to go out into the big bad world and be apart from those that I loved. And the thing that kind of was disruptive the most with separation anxiety to me is that it makes me very, very, like, I'm a very clingy person. Like, I'm very clingy to my best friend Monica. I'm better now because I live in Ireland and she's still in Australia, but like growing up, because we've been best friends for years and years and years, I was always super clingy to her. And then when I got my first boyfriend, aside from the fact that like we didn't get along and we were terrible for each other, I was super clingy to him because he was kind of like my first boyfriend and we were super close at the time, and his family was so lovely. They still are so lovely, and I just always wanted to be around him and around them. So I would like stay over his house every night. Like, I rarely saw my family because I just wanted to be with him and his family because it felt safe, like a little safe cocoon. And we were only like 18, 19, and so I can see in his eyes having, like, being so young and having a girlfriend that was as ridiculously clingy as me. Like, I was like a limpet. I was just like, if he wanted to walk out the door, I would literally be like sitting there on his foot holding his leg, not letting him go, because I just was so fearful that he was going to leave me or he was going to come back and not love me anymore. And so I know that really, it was bad for me because I suffered, because I was constantly like feeling uncertain about the relationship. And it was bad for him because nobody wants a partner like that. And so I always felt like horrible separation anxiety for him. Like, I hated when we were separated. And then I've had 3 partners in my life. So then my second boyfriend, before Darren, I was the same with him, super, super clingy. Like, and my partners, like the 3 of them, they're all really independent men. Like, they aren't, they don't appreciate clinginess, if you know what I mean. So my second boyfriend, he would, go to work, he would go to the gym. I was such a weirdo girlfriend that not only did I also manage to get myself a job at his work just so I could be around him all the time because I panicked when I was away from him, but I went to his gym. Like, the poor guy couldn't escape me. I was around him 24 hours a day. And not because I wanted to be, like, because I did have my own interests and I did want to do other things, but I just couldn't cope with the feeling of being away from them and feeling that detachment and like feeling like you're being torn away from them. And I felt so lost and like scared and spooked out on my own without that pillar of strength next to me, if you know what I'm trying to describe. And I say I've gotten better at it recently because I've got Darren now. We've been together 5 years and he just understands me to a T. So he's also very independent and he doesn't appreciate clinginess, but he doesn't push me away when I become clingy. He doesn't push me away. He kind of just absorbs it. And then I feel satisfied and I feel calmed and I feel soothed that everything's okay and he's not going anywhere. And so then I'm fine. And so in this relationship, instead of me being the creepy, obsessed, clingy girlfriend, I'm like almost independent. Like, I'm fine with him going out and doing his own thing because I completely have trust in him that he's never going to leave me unless he had, good reason to. Whereas, like, with my past relationships, the reason I was so clingy was not because I was, like, wanting to be obsessed with them or anything like that. It was literally because I had this fear from my own dad kind of never being there that they were going to leave me as well, and I'd grown so attached to them. That's how it makes sense to me in my own head anyway. Yeah, so that's the separation anxiety. I don't get it as badly anymore, thank goodness, but I used to get it real badly. But yeah, that's about all I had to say. I don't know how long this video is going to go for, but I think even if it is a long video, I don't want to edit this video too much. I just, if it helps someone by me sharing my experiences with mental health issues, then I'll be glad that I opened up and put this video on YouTube. And yeah, that's about all there is really to say about it. I never thought that I would have anything like this up on my YouTube channel or my social media ever, because I never wanted any of this to be like well known about me. I didn't want it to be like public knowledge. But I feel like when I was reading your comments on my vlog the other night, I was in tears. Like, I just felt so much love and admiration for you guys that watched my video, that are, you know, in my Lange fam, that, you know, I care about you. I may not have met you in real life, but reading your comments, I feel like I have a sense of who you are, and it just made me so sad. And I felt like, you know, the least that I can do, like, I can't help. That's the thing. Like, I wish I could help take away this pain from people suffering. Like you, for example, watching this video, if you are suffering with mental health issues, if you've got depression or anxiety or OCD, like, I feel helpless because I can't do anything to help you, even though I want to, because I don't even know how to help myself. I feel like, yeah, I can't even help myself, so how on earth could I have the right words to help somebody else? But I feel like the only thing I can do, and this is what's made me want to do the video, is do this video and let you know that, well, you know, I may not be able to help you in any way. I don't have the right words to say. Nothing I say is going to be of any use to you at all, but know that you're not alone, because I'm going through it here with you as well. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention as well, just before I let you go, is I know I come across, like, on social media and in real life actually, as, you know, possibly, this is how I think I come across anyway. I could be completely wrong, but I think I come across as like always happy and bubbly and happy-go-lucky and confident and chirpy. And, you know, I am all those things. Like, that without these anxiety, like without these issues that I have, that would be me, and that would be only me. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, when you've lived with this kind of thought process, or this kind of behavior, or this kind of way of thinking your entire life, you just kind of get on with life. And so it's not as though, even though I have anxiety and OCD and I'm basically always thinking about the both of them or one of them, or, you know, some days it's worse, some days it's not as bad, that doesn't mean that you're not going to see me out at the shops. It doesn't mean that you're not going to see me out partying and having fun with my friends. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be happy and sparkly and chatty and bright and bubbly, because I am all those things and I enjoy life. I just also happen to have some mental disorders, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying my life. It doesn't stop me from going after things I want. It doesn't stop me from having fun. It doesn't stop me from having relationships, friends, you know, opportunities, potential in life. I have all of those things alongside anxiety and OCD. So it's not as though like you have a mental disorder and therefore your life is shit. Do you know what I mean? Every single thing about this video has been difficult to explain and difficult for me to film. Like, none of this is like coming to my brain easily. Usually I'm pretty good at conveying my thoughts into words, but for this video, for some reason, it's not happening. But yeah, just because like probably if I do a Snapchat this afternoon, or like after I finish filming this video, I'm going to sound happy to everybody, and that's because I am happy. I'm happy, but I also do have OCD and I also do have anxiety, and they do cause me a great deal of distress, yet because that's all I've ever known, I don't know any different, and that is just my life. It's just part of like the way my brain works. So yeah, I hope you guys know what I'm trying to say here. Okay, what the actual heck? My TV just turned itself on. That is so creepy. Mr. Dean? Who the heck is Mr. Dean? Oh, what the heck? That's really creepy. It just turned itself on, and at the top there, it says Mr. Dean. What the heck? Now I'm creeped out. I think I want to change hotel rooms. I hope that this video has possibly helped someone. I feel like that's very rich to say, like, just assuming that I can help anyone with such like serious matters. Like, this is not makeup at the end of the day. But anyway, I just figured I'll put the video out and see what you think of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much. And I hope that if anybody else is, you know, struggling in any way, shape or form, do get help. You're not alone. You're not suffering alone. You're not the only person going through, you know, similar things. If you guys want me to do more videos on this kind of topic, do let me know. It's not something I ever saw myself doing on this channel, but I don't know, if this like does resonate with anyone else and you do want me to continue talking about it, let me know, because I'll do anything you want. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Good night.